Hello, hi everyone. I hope you all are doing good. So, as we all know that we have covered all the basics of reading comprehensions and we have solved a few questions and the previous year questions from those basics. Now we are left with passages from each and every domain which needs to be covered for CLAT. राइट अब मैंने कहा था कि देयर आर सर्टेन डोमेन्स जिससे क्वेश्चंस आते हुए देखे हैं हमने इन द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स स्पेसिफिकली फॉर रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन राइट. आज हम उन्हीं क्वेश्चंस को सॉल्व करने वाले हैं एंड वैसा ही एक डोमेन है psychological passages. Also in the comment sections many students have asked me कि मैम आप प्लीज साइकोलॉजी से रिलेटेड जो passages हैं उनको सॉल्व करवाओ क्लास में. So today we will be doing that only. And I'll be taking psychological passages today. So let us begin. Now, first thing first that I need to explain you guys are the challenges which we face while we solve questions related to psychology or while we read passages related to psychology. Number one is jargons or the technical terms. Right, technical terms which I used. Right, I'm really sorry. Right, technical terms. Secondly, the next thing that we need to understand is that English में जब भी psychological passage आता है तो वहाँ पे summaries derive करनी. ये एक बहुत बड़ा challenge है. Summarizing is a big challenge, right? And lastly, by the end we come to the end of the passage. We are not able to understand the flow of concepts. ये तीन चीजें मैनेज करनी बहुत प्रॉब्लमैटिक हो जाती है ज्यादातर स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. Now psychology is a stream which is not studied by many people. Right? Now, for the students who are already studying psychology, उनके लिए ये इशू सॉल्व हो जाएगा. कहीं ना कहीं किसी ना किसी हद तक ये भी सॉल्व हो जाएगा. But what about the flow of concepts? Right? And even if you're studying psychology, तो भी ऐसी सी चीजें होंगी जो आपने पहले नहीं पढ़ी होंगी और which you might not be aware of. Right? इसलिए ये जो challenges है ना, these are some general challenges which most of the students do face while solving passages related to psychology. Right? चलो, अब इससे related हमारे पास क्या इसके लिए कुछ टेक्निक्स हैं, कुछ टिप्स हैं which we need to remember or take into consideration. Number one, first thing first, while you are reading the passage, read the beginning, and check the subject of the passage. Right? Just see whether you have an idea about psychological passages or whether you have idea about the issues which are discussed in psychology or the topics which are discussed in psychology or not. Even if you don't have any idea about psychology, just see the subject. Let's say the subject here is children, right? Or it is teenage. And you believe कि ये तो मेरे इंटरेस्ट का सब्जेक्ट है, राइट? या फिर मेरे इंटरेस्ट का टॉपिक है यहाँ पे. सो हियर यू कैन गो विद इट. व्हाई? बिकॉज अगर आपके इंटरेस्ट की चीज है सो डेफिनेटली यू वोंट बी बोर्ड. सेकेंडली योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग विल इम्प्रूव. व्हाई? बिकॉज यू ऑलरेडी वॉन्ट टू रीड इट, राइट? सो फर्स्ट थिंग फर्स्ट, दिस इज वॉट यू नीड टू डू. सेकेंडली, डाइवर्सिफाइड रीडिंग. Irrespective of which stream are you opting for or which stream are you studying right now, start reading the newspapers, right? Please read as many newspapers as you can. Please read as many editorials as you can, right? क्योंकि editorials में ये चीजें बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्कस की जाती हैं, right? Diversified reading. Third thing, whenever you are reading any important article, important news article, make sure you read the editorial associated with it. Why? Because most of the times जो editorials होते हैं ना वहाँ पे उसके psychological effects उसके बारे में भी बात की होती है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स से कोविड-19 ही था हमारे पास, तो कोविड-19 के क्या साइकोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट्स आए ऑन द सोसाइटी, ये सारी चीजें हमें क्लियरली समझ आ जाती हैं बिकॉज रिपीटेडली उसी चीज के बारे में बात हो रही होती है। हेंस वन थिंग विच यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू मिस इज रीडिंग एडिटोरियल्स. This you cannot miss on, right? I hope this is clear. These are the tips which will actually help you to solve or to deal with all your challenges here, right? Now, let's just start with the first passage. Let's just skim through it and let's just read कि हमें क्या इसके बारे में थोड़ा बहुत भी आइडिया है या नहीं है. So human beings often like to believe that they make rational decisions. Rational decisions that they often like to believe that they make rational decisions, yet means something opposite. Decades of psychological research have demonstrated that human judgment is frequently shaped by cognitive biases. अब cognitive का मतलब how you think, systematic deviations from rationality. ठीक है, systematic deviation from rationality का मतलब कि हम rational होके तो सोचते ही नहीं, हम वैसे सोचते हैं जैसे हमें लगता है सही है, right? So one such bias is the confirmation bias. The tendency to seek out and favor information that supports one pre-existing belief. ठीक है, तो अभी तक अगर किसी को नहीं पता था confirmation bias क्या, confirmation bias होता है जहां पे what you believe has been confirmed, right? While ignoring contradictory evidences. For example, an investor who strongly believes in the potential of a company may only focus on positive reports while dismissing negative forecasts, thereby reinforcing their own assumptions. So this is something that you need to understand about cognitive bias and the first type of bias, which is confirmation bias, right? Here you can mark number 1, which is confirmation bias. Then another significant bias is the availability heuristic, right? Where individuals judge the likelihood of events based on how easily example comes to mind. ठीक है, so people might overestimate the probability of airplane accidents simply because such accidents receive heavy media coverage while underestimating more common risks such as car accidents. ठीक है, psychologists argue that these biases are not mere flaws but mental shortcuts that evolved to help humans make quick decisions quickly in complex environments. ठीक है, now however का मतलब we are going to say something in addition, right? However, in today's world where decisions often involve long-term consequences and require careful evaluation, such shortcuts may mislead us. For instance, in legal trials, for instance का मतलब एक example है ये. In legal trials, jurors may unconsciously rely on stereotypes or vivid testimonies instead of carefully weighing the evidence. Similarly means in the same manner, policymakers may rely on recent or dramatic events rather than sarcastical data when drafting laws, right? So this is how they have written it here. Now the challenge then is to recognize the pervasive influence of these biases. Some researchers suggest that de-biasing techniques, अभी तक हम सिर्फ biases के बारे में बात कर रहे थे और उनकी implications के बारे में या फिर how they mislead us उसके बारे में बात कर रहे थे. Here we are trying to talk about de-biasing techniques such as training individuals to consider alternate viewpoints, slowing down decision making, or using checklists to ensure thorough evaluation. Others argue that since biases are deeply embedded in human cognition, the focus should be on designing systems and institutions that minimize their harmful impact, such as blind reviews in recruitment or mandatory impact assessment in policy making. The debate remains whether individual self-awareness is sufficient to counter cognitive biases or whether systematic safeguards are more effective. ठीक है, so अब debate किस चीज के बारे में अभी भी pending है, that is self-awareness is sufficient या फिर systematic safeguards are more effective. यहाँ पे important है more effective कि दोनों में से क्या important है, आपकी self-awareness या फिर systematic safeguards. Right? So here what is clear is that psychology has revealed that rational decision making is far more complex and fragile than once assumed. ठीक है? I hope that is clear. बहुत easy था, कोई difficult नहीं था. It was all about biases and how they actually pose a challenge. Let's just talk about the questions here. The author suggests the cognitive biases, number one, are deliberate attempts by people to distort reality, represent rationality with no practical benefits, evolve as shortcuts to simplify complex decision making, and do not affect modern human behavior. What according to you should be the answer here? What according to you should be the answer? The answer here is clear that they have been evolved as shortcuts to simplify complex decision making, right? And this we had already highlighted. So this was a direct question, right? Next, which of the following best illustrates the availability heuristic as described in the passage? अब availability heuristic जब हमने पढ़ा था तो हमने उसको समझने की भी कोशिश करी थी. First of all, what is heuristic? It is a mental shortcut, right? So a student preferring to revise the subject they enjoy most, the person fearing shark attacks more than slipping in the bathroom after watching a movie on sharks, a manager selecting a candidate because of strong recommendations, या फिर a voter supporting a leader due to party loyalty. तो बताओ क्या होना चाहिए इसका आंसर? Tell me quickly. It should be a person fearing sharks, क्योंकि हमने जब ऊपर पढ़ा था हमने एक चीज समझी थी कि what is this availability heuristic, wherein individuals judge the likelihood of an event based on how easily examples come to mind, कि कितने easily आपके दिमाग में ऐसे incidences आ रहे हैं, right? अब एयरप्लेन क्रैशेस के हमारे पास बहुत सारे इंसिडेंसेस है, बट किसी के पास वो इंसिडेंस है जहां पे किसी के सिर पे पेड़ गिर गया और उसकी डेथ होगी, बहुत कम होंगे, राइट? सो दिस इज व्हाट इट इज, बट द लाइकलीहुड इज मोर कि एक पेड़ गिर जाए और किसी की डेथ हो जाए, राइट? So similar thing has been talked about here as well. Now, according to the passage, which is one major concern about bias in legal and policy context. अब legal and policy context में हमारे पास एक example था, right? उससे हमने ये derive करना है. They always lead to corruption. They may cause decision makers to rely on stereotypes or recent vivid events rather than evidences. They reduce the speed of decision making in courts and they completely eliminate rationality in all legal cases. What should be the answer? It should be this, because ये clearly mentioned है in the passage itself that it causes decision makers to rely on stereotypes. Then the author mentions debiasing techniques. What is their primary purpose? Primary purpose का मतलब किस लिए use होते हैं debiasing techniques? Number one, to eradicate all biases from human thinking permanently. सबसे पहले तो all है और permanently, इसको support करने के लिए हमारे पास कोई भी evidence नहीं है. Then to replace psychological biases with moral reasoning, इसको हम थोड़ी देर के लिए side रख सकते हैं. Next, to minimize the harmful effects of biases through conscious strategies, and lastly to train people to ignore statistical data in favor of personal experiences. ये तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है, because it is something contrary. Then यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है moral reasoning, तो यहाँ पे moral reasoning के बारे में बात नहीं हो रही, cognitive reasoning के बारे में बात हो रही है. Hence the answer is C, to minimize the harmful effects of biases through conscious strategies, right? Then next we have, which of the following captures the central argument of the passage? यानी कि what is the primary idea of the entire passage? So the primary idea here is cognitive biases are irrational habits that can easily be eliminated through awareness. अब यहाँ पे एक चीज है easily be eliminated through awareness, जिसको support करने के लिए हमारे पास कोई clue नहीं है, कोई evidence नहीं है. Human decision making is deeply influenced by cognitive biases and addressing them requires both individual strategies and systematic safeguards. Policy makers should ignore psychology and focus only on statistics. इसके बारे में भी बात नहीं हुई हमारी. It is just one part of it, but यहाँ पे इसने लिखा है should ignore. ये बात नहीं हो रही कहीं पे भी. Biases are beneficial and should be encouraged in modern institutions. ये तो बिल्कुल ही बात नहीं हो रही है. So what are we left with? Option B. I hope that is clear. Now let's just move ahead to passage 2. So this is how you approach the passages. अगर आपको लग रहा है passage आप पढ़ के समझ सकते हो या आपको लग रहा है this is something which you can read for the next 15-20 minutes, then you go and read it, right? Now, in 1950, psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a series of experiments that revealed how strongly people conform to group opinions even when the group is clearly wrong. In his famous study, participants were asked to compare line lengths when Confederates, actors planted by the researcher, unanimously gave an obviously incorrect answer. Many participants also gave the wrong response despite knowing it was false. तो इससे हमें ये समझ आ रही है कि कैसे we conform to group opinions, right? Now, this phenomena of conformity highlights the power of social pressure because they want to be accepted by the group, and this is known as normative influence, right? Or because they genuinely begin to doubt their own judgments in the face of majority. This is known as informational influence, right? Now, conformity can serve important functions such as maintaining social harmony and collective actions. However, so there is something opposite that is coming up. It can also lead to dangerous outcomes. Historical events like the rise of authoritarian regimes demonstrate how conformity coupled with obedience can result in widespread acceptance of harmful policies. Similarly, corporate scandals often emerge because individuals within organizations remain silent, fearing isolation if they challenge prevailing norms. Now, psychologists note that conformity is not always negative. In emergencies, for instances, people often look for others for clues about how to act, which can lead to coordinated and effective responses. The challenges lie in distinguishing when conformity aids social cohesion and when it undermines independent thinking. Right? So the Asch experiments ultimately demonstrated that while humans like to think of themselves as independent, the pull of group consensus is often stronger than reason. The question remains, how can societies encourage critical thinking without eroding the social glue that conformity provides? Now let's just see the questions. So the first question asks, according to the passage, people conform primarily because, why do the people primarily conform? The answer is because they seek acceptance or begin doubting their own judgment, which has been talked about in paragraph 2. Past paragraph 2, yes. Then, the Asch experiment demonstrated that people never resist group pressure. People do resist group pressure. Group consensus can override individual judgments because this is directly mentioned in the passage. Conformity only occurs under the threat of violence. इसके बारे में बात नहीं हुई. Humans are immune to social influence. ये भी बात नहीं हुई. Right? Next, moving ahead. Which of the following is an example of conformity having a positive effect? A citizen voting for a candidate without reading the manifesto? No. Employees covering up financial fraud in a corporation? No. People coordinating actions in emergency by observing others? Yes. Students plagiarizing assignments? No. Now, the author suggests that conformity should be entirely eliminated to protect individual reasoning? No. Has both functional and harmful consequences depending on the context? No. Is only relevant in historical authoritarian regimes? Yes. Always weaken society's collective bonds. Now, the central concern raised in the passage is whether conformity should be encouraged in schools? No. How societies can balance benefits of conformity with the need of independent thinking, which has been highlighted in the end of the entire passage. Now, let's just come to passage 3. So, I hope both the passages are clear to you. Now, we'll be moving on to passage number 3, wherein we'll be talking about something new. So, stress. Something that we are all aware of, that is stress. Stress is often described as the body's response to demands or threats, whether real or perceived. Very important. Psychologist Hansel famously defined stress as the non-specific response of the body to any demand placed upon it. While short-term stress can sharpen focus and improve performance, a phenomena known as eustress, which is chronic stress, can have severe psychological and physical consequences. When the brain perceives a threat, it activates the fight or flight response, releasing hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These prepare the body for immediate action, increasing heart rate, sharpening alertness, and mobilizing energy. While beneficial in emergencies, prolonged activation of this system disrupts normal bodily functions, leading to issues such as anxiety, insomnia, hypertension, and weakened immunity. Modern life has created a paradox. Unlike ancient humans who face stress in acute bursts, that is, escaping predators, people today often endure constant low-level stressors. Deadlines, traffic, financial uncertainties, this chronic strain wear down the body and mind over time. Psychologists emphasize the importance of coping mechanisms such as relaxation techniques, exercise, and social support in mitigating these effects. Interestingly, researchers also show that one's perception of stress strongly influences its impact. Very important fact. People who view stress as harmful tend to experience worse outcomes than those who perceive it as a natural challenge. This suggests that stress management is not only about reducing external pressure but also about reframing how individuals interpret them. Now, according to Hansels, stress is always harmful and should be avoided. A non-specific bodily response to any demand, limited to threats of physical danger, only caused by negative experiences. So what is the answer here? Alright, the answer is a non-specific bodily response to any demand. Then the fight or flight response is primarily designed to improve long-term immunity, prepare the body for immediate survival actions, increase relaxation, reduce reliance on adrenaline and cortisol, and improve long-term immunity. The answer is prepare the body. Next, the author describes modern stress as paradoxical because people now face constant low level of stress, right? This is a direct sentence in the passage. What does research suggest about people's perception of stress? It has light impact or outcomes. Negative views of stress worsen its effect. Stress is equally harmful regardless of the perception. Only positive perception can trigger stress. Negative views of stress worsen its effect, which we have read in the last part of the entire passage. Now, the central messages of this passage is that stress is only a modern problem. Stress is always destructive for mental health. Both biological responses and individual perceptions determine stress outcomes, and coping mechanisms are unnecessary. So unnecessary, due to the word unnecessary, this is wrong. It's always destructive. इसकी वजह से ये गलत हो गया. Only की वजह से ये भी गलत हो गया. Hence the answer is C. Right? I hope this is clear. Also, it is directly mentioned in the passage. Now, let's just talk about the fourth passage. I hope I am clear about what I am teaching you guys, and I hope आपको समझ आ रहा है what to understand and what not to cater to in the paper. Right? अब हम start करेंगे with a new passage which talks about placebo effect. Now, the placebo effect is one of the most intriguing phenomena in psychology and medicine. It occurs when a patient experiences real improvement in symptoms after receiving a treatment with no active therapeutic ingredient such as a sugar pill or saline injection. The key lies in the patient's belief that they are receiving genuine treatment. See, प्लेसिबो इफेक्ट क्या होता है? जहाँ पे आपको कोई ऐसे इंग्रेडिएंट्स दिए जाए जिनका एज सच कोई इफेक्ट नहीं है आपकी इलनेस पे, बट जस्ट बिकॉज वो आपको एडमिनिस्टर हुए हैं तो आपको लग रहा है कि हाँ हम ठीक हो रहे हैं. Right? So research has consistently shown that placebos can relieve pain, improve mood, and even alter measurable biological markers such as heart rate and hormone levels. Brain imaging studies reveal that expectations of healings can activate the same neural pathways as actual medication. In some cases, placebos produce results nearly as strong as genuine drugs. Skeptics argue that placebo effect is a form of self-deception. Yet, others contend it demonstrates the remarkable power of the mind over the body. So this is something which they argue. If a patient feels better, the distinction between real and imagined relief becomes blurred. Some researchers even advocate harnessing placebo effect ethically. Right? For example, by combining them with traditional treatments to enhance their outcomes. Now, however means something opposite is going to be talked about. The placebo effect also raises ethical dilemmas. If doctors knowingly prescribe placebos without informing patients, it undermines trust and informed consent. Undermines का मतलब कम कर देता है trust. On the other hand, fully disclosing that a pill is inert often reduces its effectiveness, creating a moral paradox कि बताएं या ना बताएं patient को, right? So recent studies suggest that even open-labeled placebos where patients are told they are receiving a placebo can still yield benefits, pointing to a complex relationship between belief, expectation, and healing. Right? Chalo, let's see the questions. The passage has been quite easy. So the placebo effect works primarily because the brain responds to expectations of healing. Placebos contain hidden active ingredients. Patients are deceived by doctors. Right? And then it is patients are deceived by doctors and it suppresses all neural pathways. So as we all know, it is responds to expectations of healings, right? Of healing, right? This is what it is. Because it has been directly given in the passage. Now, which of the following best illustrates the placebo effect? A patient recovering due to antibiotics. तो antibiotics है ना, उसमें placebo क्या है? A person feeling less pain after taking a sugar pill they believe in medicine is a medicine. The doctor treating a patient with advanced surgery. सर्जरी हो गई तो यहाँ पे प्लेसिबो नहीं है. Student feeling nervous before an exam. It has nothing to do with placebo. Hence the answer is B. What ethical dilemma does the placebo effect raise? Whether it is legal to prescribe sugar pills? No. Sugar pills were just given as an example और उसमें legality की बात कहीं नहीं हुई. Whether deception undermines trust in medical relationships? Yes. Whether patients should be allowed to self-medicate? No. Then whether doctors can charge for expensive drugs? No, nothing has been talked about it. Then what is the significance of open-labeled placebos? They show that placebos only work when patients are deceived. No, not at all. They prove that placebos are useless in medical practices. No. They demonstrate that even if patients know it is a placebo, benefits can still occur. They eliminate the need for traditional medicine. So this has been clearly mentioned in the passage. Now, the central concern of the passage, which is the primary idea of the passage, whether placebo should replace medicine entirely, how placebo effect reveals the complex role of belief and healing while raising ethical challenges. This we have talked about. Entirely की वजह से ये eliminate कर दो. Why patients should distrust doctors? No, this is something that we are not talking about. How brain imaging always proves medical fraud. This is also something that we are not talking about. I hope it is clear. Now we will be moving ahead to the fifth passage. Here we will be talking about procrastination. Procrastination जो हम सब करते हैं, which is कल कर लेंगे, right? So कल कर लेंगे वाली tendency, वो क्या है? So procrastination or the tendency to delay tasks despite knowing that there may be negative consequences is a universal human experience. Contrary to the belief that it reflects laziness, psychologists argue procrastination is more about emotional regulation than poor time management. When faced with a challenging or unpleasant task, people often experience anxiety, self-doubt, or boredom. To escape these negative feelings, they turn to more immediately rewarding activities such as scrolling through social media or watching television. So, this provides temporary relief but reinforces the habit of avoidance, creating a cycle of guilt and further delay. This is what the researchers have said, right? Now, research indicates that procrastination is linked to impulsivity and difficulties with self-control. Okay? Neuroimaging studies show that brain's limbic system, which seeks short-term pleasure, often overrides the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning and long-term goals. This tug of war explains why people may sincerely intend to work but still end up postponing tasks. Interestingly, not all procrastination is detrimental, right? Some people engage in active procrastination and deliberately delaying tasks to work under pressures, which can sometimes enhance creativity and focus. However, chronic procrastination is associated with lower academic performance, stress, and even health issues. Psychologists recommend strategies such as breaking tasks into smaller steps, setting deadlines, and practicing self-compassion, viewing procrastination not as a moral failing but as a psychological pattern, can help individuals adopt healthier habits. Ultimately, the key lies in addressing the emotions underlying avoidance rather than merely trying to manage time. तो यहाँ पे बात हो रही है procrastination की and how the researchers have talked about procrastination. What are the ways in which the studies have proved that this is how procrastination works, or this is how procrastination has effects on the people. This has been talked about in the entire passage. So according to the psychologists, procrastination is primarily about what? It is about avoidance of negative emotions through short-term relief activities, because this is what was talked about in the second paragraph, and this has been explained too. Now, why do people often procrastinate according to the passage? They lack necessary skills? No. They prefer long-term goals? No. They seek immediate emotional relief from difficult tasks? Yes. They are incapable of decision making? No. Right? Now, the distinction between active and chronic procrastination highlights that procrastination never affects academic performance. Okay? Then, never affects? No, this is wrong. Some delay may foster creativity, but long-term avoidance is damaging. This is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. Which brain system are described as being in conflict during procrastination? Limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, because इन्हीं के बारे में बात हुई है. Then the central idea of the passage is procrastination should be punished? No. Procrastination proves people are lazy by nature? No. Procrastination is beneficial for all human beings? No. Just because of the word all, this is wrong. Procrastination reflects deeper emotional struggles and can be managed with psychological strategies. So I hope you have understood how to solve psychological passages or the passages related to psychology, right? See, all you need to do is how to crack the code. Once you know it, you'll be able to solve the questions. So all those students who've understood everything, good for you. If you haven't understood anything, you have doubts in anything, please comment down in the comment section below and I'll be glad to help you out. Thank you.